Yo, what up?
Yo, what's going on, killer?
Hey, nothing much, man. Hey, I think it's been too long. We gonna pop out this weekend together. Yo, we get to see each other this weekend. Hey, that's gonna be a good time, brother.
Yeah,
But
so
before we
now
get into
people don't have to ask me, where's Eric at? He's right here.
nah, I'm looking forward to that, man. I'm looking forward to that. But we have a few topics we want to talk about today. Super excited to get to them. Probably won't be a long episode, but every time we say that, it's a long episode. So we'll see. So y'all just stay tuned, find out how long it is. Um, but since we're doing predictions, we always do predictions. Predict how long this episode is going to be in the comments after y'all watch it. But man, we want to definitely talk about, there was a big IFBB show. I know this is a natural bodybuilding podcast, as we always talk about, but the Pittsburgh Pro also had a natural portion, which allows us to talk about the whole show, guys. So I'll let you lead off, of course, with the sponsor side of that show.
Shout out to our sponsor, Chulaware. Y'all already know if y'all need socks, if you need some slides, if you need some men's physique trunks, if you need some men's classic trunks, if you need bodybuilding trunks, if you need to get your girl a bodysuit, hop over to Chulaware, use code Carolina Muscles and 10 and save you some money. Speaking of Chulaware, a big win for the Chulaware brand, and of course a big win for Chiron over the weekend in Pittsburgh. So Absolutely. That's major for them, and he looked incredible, by the way.
Nah, for sure. It was one of those physiques that I think even in our space we talk about coming in undeniable. I think that's what it's about. And if we're talking about being undeniable on a specific day, peaking correctly, and I think we'll definitely talk about peak here on this episode. But peaking correctly, hitting your mark, and being undeniable, I think that's what they are talking about, especially on that stage, right? But also at Pittsburgh Pro, they had a natural pro qualifier where natural athletes can go compete. We know a few people. Off the top of my head, I've seen Chanel Wellness Pro. I've seen Ferg out there, Wellness Pro. One of my posing clients, Davion or Dave, he was out there. Chris from Nonstop. So, you got anybody else? Did I forget anybody?
You got Modern Auto. Then you had Jacqueline from Team Nonstop too.
Okay. I
think those are the only people that I know that went out there. So
yeah, but I think major kudos to that. I think that's definitely putting, because as we said, I think there's a lot of big stages, and that's definitely a huge stage.
Yeah.
And for them to go step on that big stage, and even for the Pittsburgh Pro to give natural athletes a spotlight on that stage is amazing, just for the growth of natural athletes, right? But then that also drives us towards No Gear, which we also consider a very big stage for a multitude of reasons, right? From the history of the show, from the legacy of Will Powell, for the athletes that it bring out. And I may or may not have seen the roster, but man, let's just say they're not lacking at that show. Let's just put it that way. But let's talk about, we'll get into the show, because I think we both had experiences, and I definitely want to have you share your personal experience with that show as well. But I know we talked about this before, but since it's peak week, I know there's some people who haven't competed who's getting into competing. And we may have said this before, but what is peak week and what is not peak week? The misnomers. Like, there's misnomers of what peak week is and what it's not.
Peak week is not suffering these last 5 days to try to drop 5 to 10 pounds of weight that you think you need to drop. That is not peak week. All right? What peak week is, peak week can be stressful if you allow it to be stressful.
Right.
Don't allow it to be stressful. If you have a coach, just listen to your coach. Your coach should just be guiding you through peak week, and you're not doing any thinking during peak week. All you're doing is executing during peak week. That's what peak week is to me. Just execution. That's it. What you got?
All right. like you said, peak week isn't a rapid fat loss phase. If you're in a rapid fat loss phase at the end of prep, that is not peak week. Peak week is not. Please, nobody take this as a slight, but peak week is not the Ozempic of your prep. It's not something magical that's going to make you look phenomenal in 7 days. Does your body change in 7 days? It can, absolutely. But it is not a rapid way of losing weight to look good on stage. What peak week is usually consistent data that you collected over the entirety of a prep, variables, not too much changing, and your body getting either drier, harder, and looking better on stage just to present the package. So it's one of those things where a lot of people say, once I drop this 10 pounds of water, I'll be good. If you're holding 10 pounds of water in your body, hey, you probably haven't peed in about 2 weeks. Let's just put it that way.
And a big red flag, I'm going to go ahead and give y'all some free game right here. If your coach have you doing 2 hours of cardio this week, that's a red flag, and you're not ready to step on stage. And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Let's go red flags then. Let's go red flags. Red flags for peak week. If your coach magically introduce some diuretics to your plan, I mean, some people still use a spell. Some people use natural diuretics. So
right,
cool. But if it's something that be like, hey, take this, ask questions.
One more, and then we'll move on. One more. I got one more for you. If your coach, or if you don't even have a coach, but if you decide to introduce a new food during peak week, you are absolutely wrong.
All right. Let's go. Let's go with not absolutely wrong, but having a control variable, right? Control variable is the food we select. Because I know for me, there has been times where I don't know why, but every year at the Yorton, there's always like a special edition candy that comes out, and I always eat the candy.
Bro, no. Okay, so that's something different. So if you've been eating, let's say, chicken, beef, and rice all during your prep, and now all of a sudden, this week, your coach tell you, hey, I want you to throw in some damn red potato or something. You haven't had red potato all during prep. You don't know how your body is going to react to that red potato. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
so foreign foods that you aren't normally eating, you probably shouldn't do that. And that's just a pro tip. Like, honestly, all the food that you've been eating up into peak week is probably the food that you want to keep in your diet during peak week. I think it's high glycemic foods like sweets and stuff like that doesn't affect your body too much. But some people, if they throw anything foreign like dairy or things like that into their diet in the last week, it's just like, hey, you probably shouldn't do that.
Right.
So going into No Gear, we always say that this is like a legacy show. It's a show that honestly the name holds a lot of weight. And that's why I think the show does well every year. So what was your experience? I know you probably told it before if people go back and watch. What was your experience from an athlete when you competed?
My experience was great, man. Like I said, rest in peace to Will Powell, but I had made a promise to Will that I was going to do his show. I was like, I'm going to do your show. I'm going to do your show. And then, I did it last year or whatnot. Unfortunately, he wasn't there. But as an athlete, man, from the check-in process on up until the show, even after the show, the whole experience was great. I love the venue. I said this before, like, I love the big-ass castle they have where you walk out, and then it's like the stage and the crowd's right there. So my experience was A+. Yeah. I know you did it, you did that show, 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
Long time ago. I think it was 2020. It was like I got my first pro win, and then I think that was like my first big pro win where I felt like, all right, it wasn't a fluke the first time.
Right.
And it was funny because that was like the first show that I ever like out loud committed to. Like, so people knew where they could find me at that show. And I think it was honestly because Very similar story. I think Will Powell was super receptive to hearing opinions and basically executing. And I think every year it was just like he used to have women only, men only, women only, men only. And I just kind of went to him. I remember a show in December, and like I said, I'm not saying that it was my idea and that he did it, but I was just like, hey man, like your show's in Greensboro, I would love to do it. And I think it was supposed to be either a year that it was supposed to be female, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been or it might not have been. But I was just like, dude, like there's like 17 men's physique pros that I could name off the top of my head that's from North Carolina. I was like, I would love to have, yours be a all male pro show. And I think like probably 2 months later, it was like announced that it was an all male pro show. And I was like, hey y'all, I'm doing this show right here. This is where I'm going to be at. I'm showing up. And yeah, I think that was like the first time I got to compete in front of that. He gave me the platform to compete in front of old college friends, my family, all that stuff. Like a lot of people, like people drove from all over. I think I probably had like 25, 30 people come to the show, which was super big for me. That was like the first time that happened for me and me competing all those years. So I was like, this is dope. Like that's going to always be one of those shows I remember. And then two, I'll always will try to take somebody there every year after that. I try to take somebody to that show specifically.
So just walk me through the evolution of when you competed in 2020 up until what you've seen last year, because obviously No Gear is this weekend, so we haven't seen what they're doing this year for the athletes and all that. But from 2020 to last year, 2025, what has the evolution been like for the No Gear?
I think it's been progressive, like every year, because it used to be on Guilford College in the auditorium, and I think the year after I did it, we went the following year. And the AC went out in that building. Like, boy, it was hot. I think Jessica and Terry will tell you that it was about 100 degrees in that building. Like people sweating, fanning themselves. In the middle of the show, like in between, like everybody getting off stage, you'll walk outside just to come back in. It was hot. But then, of course, with that issue, they were super progressive the next year. Like, we're going to the theater. I mean, the Coliseum. Like, we're going to get a bigger, better venue. So now it's kind of like not arena seating, but it's like a convention center seating.
Yeah.
So it's the viewing is way better for the people coming in. They kind of even made it like a mini expo. So there's vendors in the back. They always have like the competitions in the back, which allows the audience to interact with different things back there. And then even athlete wise, I think. The first year I did it, there was I think it was probably like 15 guys that came for men's physique alone. And then I think each and every year they always tend to get because we always talk about how hard it is to compete early in the year and hold that to the Yorton. But every year they've been getting bigger and bigger names, and trust and believe they're not lacking those names this year either. Because I've seen a few, like I've seen a dude that placed top 3 at the Yorton. I've seen multiple people who won shows in the men's physique lineup. Classic, I've seen a few guys that if they competed more often, we would definitely know their names because they have great physique. So I think what they give out, Terry, Will, Jessica, the energy they give out to their athletes, people always pay them back by coming back to their show.
Right. And the one thing that I do like about No Gear and where it's located at, like you said, it's at the Coliseum or whatnot. It feels like a sporting event. It feels like you're going to go watch a college because they got the bar. And if you want to indulge in a drink or whatnot, a beer, you can go to the bar and get you a beer or whatnot. So it just feels like a real sporting event. So that's one thing I do like about where No Gear is located at.
Yeah, and I think even last year, like I think that top 3 at Classic last year when you did it was like, you, Eli, and Donnie.
Yeah.
Man, that lineup was like fire because I feel like all 3 of y'all had completely different physiques, and
we all brought something. We all brought something different to the table. So it was up to the judges. Like, okay, like I think we honestly made it harder than judges.
Yeah.
Because like you said, we all 3 had different wow factors to our physique.
Yeah. So I thought that was super dope watching that. And like I said, I had guys in men's physique last year. And like I said, that lineup, like Fred won last year. And then of course Nehemiah was third, and then Matthew Cole, who comes in 2% body fat every year, is one of those things where those guys bring it. And I'm looking forward to seeing. I know for a fact they posted it, so I can say it. Top two coming back. So
Yeah,
I would love to see it.
I was going to ask you that because there's no secret that Fred is obviously coming back to know
Yeah.
you. What do Fred have to do to retain his title at No Gear?
That sounds like one of them Chiron questions, huh? So coming from, let me put my analyst hat on. You see the egg drop? All right. Put my analyst hat on. So if I had to put my analyst hat on and had to say, what does Fred have to do? I never believe in saying come back, and bring what you brought last year. I never say that. I think Fred brought a real polished look last year. It wasn't like he was super shredded, but Fred has a shape, and I think we have talked about this guy so many times. We probably should just bring him on the podcast. I talk about him a lot. He has a really good shape and a really good back density, and he's not a small guy. I think he carries good weight on stage as well. I think he's in the high 180s, 190s, if I'm not mistaken, on stage. So it's not like he's a small guy, and he presents very well. So I would say if he comes in probably sharper than he did last year, because we always say we're competing against the person next to us, but I think usually when you win a show, they're expecting that look again, especially if you won. So I think he comes in tighter, and honestly, I put him up there like I said, I could give credit where it's credit due. I put him up there for people who can really pose well and present their physique well. So if he poses well and is confident, and he comes in tighter than what he did last year, he'll be hard to beat at this show.
Yeah, and I had this conversation with somebody last week. It's just human nature. Like, you have to come in better than what you did last year.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to put this out there, but I feel like, this is just my opinion, if judges see you haven't improved since the last time you stepped on stage, you're leaving room for somebody to come in and bump you out the way. That's just how I feel about it.
And I said that I think there's a positive thing about Fred, though. And there's other athletes like this, because I have an athlete that did the very same thing. And nobody know he's really coming to this show until they'll know Wednesday or whatever. They don't have a choice because I'm going to post them. But it's one of those things where what plays in his favor is that he doesn't compete as often as people.
Right. Do. Yep.
So it's almost like when he comes out, people are going to forget how good he looked last year because they haven't seen him. He doesn't compete often. So, for examples, I would say I'll use you as the example because you're able to rebuttal and argue me down back. So it doesn't matter. For somebody who competes 7 times in a year, I can remember what you looked like 2 weeks ago. The picture is still on my Instagram where I've seen it, right? But for somebody who hasn't competed as often, you see his physique. Like, I follow him, so I see his physique on Instagram, but I don't see it in person. So I don't remember what he looks like on stage. I just know what he looks like in the gym. So I think that plays an advantage. And I think that's almost, if we're going to compare it to like the whole thing with like Chiron, before that year, Fred didn't win a major title. He came out and everybody was just like, this kid is on, right? But then it was almost like something new. It was like a wow factor that he had. And I always say the best body wins the show, but that best body always has a wow factor about it.
No, I agree with that. And like you said, he doesn't compete year round, or he doesn't do 5-6 shows a year. So I think that plays in his favor also. Mm-hmm. When you do get someone that competes every single year 4 or 5 times, as judges, you start to be like, okay, where's the improvements? And it's not necessarily that that person next to you is better than you. The judge is just so used to seeing you, they're like, oh, wow, now this guy got a quote-unquote wow factor. So, yeah.
Because it's almost like,
how I feel about it. Like I said, I'm not saying this is what actually goes on in judges' heads. So don't go saying that Eric and Jamal said this. This is just my opinion.
yeah, let me take my analyst hat back off. But no, I really think it. I think it's one of those things where, and like I said, it's human nature. It's like I've seen this before. I've seen this before. And the thing is, it's almost like we see great physiques all the time, and it's one of those things. And like I said, I'm not saying I do this as a judge or judges do this, but it's almost like even as a casual fan, you see somebody compete so much, it's almost like we know as a person who's inside the sport, you're not improving show to show during the year. You're getting tighter, maybe you may come in a little bit more conditioned. But when that person takes time off and then you see why they took time off because it shows in their physiques, it's almost like, wow, like this person made major improvements. So that's what we're saying.
That's all we're saying. That's all we're
Casual fans. So of course, I always say that this usually around this time is when we'll say stuff gets serious, right? There's a whole chain of shows after this that leads up into the championship series, probably that August, September range when everybody's really stepping out. Can we, or would you say that people who tend to do well at these type of shows go off to do well later in the year?
Yeah. No, I just because like it's happening right in front of our eyes right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are going other places. So just because they're competing earlier in the year right now with this specific organization doesn't guarantee that they're going to compete here later in the year.
True.
So I don't know, man. Like I would hope so, but then again, we don't know who's showing up later in the year. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. No, yeah, and that's just like one of those assumptions because I think it's one of those things where we always talk about. I think everything is qualification, right? And let's just speak from natural perspective in general, right? To go to the USBF championships, you have to qualify. To go to the Yorton, you have to qualify. To go to Ben Weider, you have to qualify. So I guess I'm just looking at it as, or let me ask a personal opinion, right? Let us talk, right? Would you rather, because I think it's something that happened in men's physique this year in the IFBB where you have to win 2 shows or the point system, I think be top like 5 in points or whatever. So winning 2 shows is the easiest way to go to the championship show. So if you were in a predicament where you needed to re-qualify, would you rather qualify early, take time in between and get ready? Or would you rather just make that one big prep, qualify right before the show, and then go straight into that show?
Second option. I would qualify later in the year, right before, let's say, the Yorton Cup. I would try to qualify right before the Yorton Cup or whatnot. So whatever show is before the Yorton Cup, I would do that show, and then I would roll into the Yorton because less time for error. Like if you let's just say I qualified at the Charleston show that Jackie Magnum just had, right? Mm-hmm. That's a long time, bro. Into September, right? So it's like, do I really want to do this anymore? Like, you know what I'm saying? Binge eating and all that stuff. So I would want to qualify like right before the big championship show.
Okay, let me revise the question one more time then.
Did I not answer the question?
No, you did.
Oh.
But I'm adding something else to it. Because I know I'm asking Jamal this question, so I'm hearing his feedback on it. So what if the qualification, because we know right now the qualification is place top 5 in your class.
Right. And that's not hard to do.
Okay. But, all right, so let's talk to you like you're not Jamal. What if the qualification was to win a show? Would you compete earlier in the year or still the same thing?
If I had to win the show.
If winning was the only way to qualify.
At that point in time, I'm going to go with strategy. I know that people don't like to come out earlier in the year. So I would compete earlier in the year, and then I would sit back.
Okay, now, and the reason I asked that is just because there's so many different philosophies, right?
Right.
So I wanted to kind of hear you out on both because, like I said, if the qualification is, hey, I got to compete to go, or I got to place top 5, cool. I want to make sure that I can go into that show. And I'm gonna say this very respectfully. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna try to hit that pro show at about 93 to 95% because I feel like that can get me a top 5 placing. But then I'm trying to be 100 at the championship show, which is where I'm trying to go to. So in that case, if it's just qualifying, it's top 5, all right, cool. But I think for me personally, like I said, if I had to qualify and win a show, I'm either going to be real. I'm gonna have to dabble into my history book and see, hey, what show is usually the ones that everybody show up at,
Right.
and go and try to get that qualification early, and then just focus on the show other. I mean, like I said, speaking to Jamal, probably you would have been like, you would still keep the same strategy and go to that show right before the Yorton. But I said, thinking outside of a person who has won multiple shows and won the Yorton, it's almost like, hey, let me do another show. Let me make sure I get the qualification, then go.
Right.
So I like the mindset. So with that, I don't think I really have much else. That was a really good question. So I just wanted to make sure I asked that just because it kind of puts us in the mindset of what some of the people in the IFBB is going through, where they have to win a show or win multiple shows just to go. And there's people out here blocking people blessings by going to them shows and making sure they don't qualify. So,
hey, is that a smart thing to do?
it depends. Like, I mean, hey, we can have this conversation all day because I feel like in that, I know there was a year where Andre Ferguson, a long time ago, he went to like 6 different shows, and he was just like, if they can't beat me here, they won't beat me at the Olympia. So me taking their qualification isn't necessarily like they just won't go. But I think in return, you got to look at the other side of that. If you can do it, do it. So that's like hypothetically last year, you running the gauntlet, winning almost all the classic shows, and you would have negated everybody from going. But then I think the opposite side of that coin is, did I burn myself out for the big one? I'm not saying that's what happened to you last year. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm saying that's also the risk that someone will run if they like, all right, I'm gonna just make sure nobody else can get there. And then next thing you know, at the biggest show that you need to be on, you're not. And I'm not, like I said, that's not me talking about you last year. That's just an example in person, in general.
No, I get it. And to be fair, I ran the gauntlet last year because I wanted to go to other places and support good ass promoters. That's why I ran the gauntlet last year. So hey, y'all got it this year. Y'all ain't on nobody's stage. Hey, y'all run it up.
Hey, I saw somebody named Williams on the roster.
Right.
It ain't you. It ain't you.
It ain't me.
Nah, but we appreciate y'all for tuning in. Like we said, make sure y'all go check out Chulaware. We're going Chulaware.
She'll be at No Gear as a vendor, so make sure y'all check out our booth. Me and Eric will be there, so y'all probably see us walk around, check-ins or something. So make sure y'all say what up or whatnot. If we have some time, we'll try to get a couple interviews beforehand or whatnot, or at the show. But yeah, other than that, man, happy peak week to you guys, and we'll see y'all this weekend.
All right, y'all. With that being said, peace.